What's up, Sean?
Not much. How's my favorite Azure certified solution development this morning?
Uh, I got a request for for a gig doing F sharp and Palumi.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah,
You got a request like someone reached out to you or
yeah. A recruiter reached out to me, and I'm like, man, I'm probably one out of like maybe five developers in the United States of America that has that unique skill set. Good luck trying to find anybody else. And then I threw a very lucrative bill rate at them.
gotcha. So it's a contract.
It's contract to hire.
No, okay. Makes sense. Did you get called back or
I
like
got caught. I got caught back, and they counter offered.
oh worth it or not?
Mm, the supply and demand. If you go from theoretical supply and demand, it's no. My hourly rate was fair, um, but at the end, I mean, they offer like 100 an hour, which obviously
That's pretty
is
good.
yeah. It's good. Being a top 10 percenter. You know, so
Yeah. Yeah.
only thing is, it's like it 100 hours. It's really good. You know, when you're less than 35 years of age, but then like as you grow older and you start having elements or elements. What's the word?
Well,
Ailments.
ailments? Oh, yeah. Yeah, ailments and yeah.
Yeah, when you start accruing ailments, then you start spending a lot of money just to try to s- be healthy. Hence, like trying to maintain your health with doctor visits and prescriptions and making sure your stuff
Yeah. I
goes
suppose
on, making sure your organs last a little bit longer. So,
what is it because you've been self insured, right?
I mean, I'm a full time employee now, so I have like
Yeah.
really good benefits. But before that, yeah, self insured and
What was the cost
like
for?
around 550 to 600 a month.
Oh, that's not as bad as I thought it would be.
It is bad.
Well, I thought
I'm
it'd
not.
be a lot more. Actually, I thought it'd be more like in the
I'm not. I'm not. I'm not in my
thousands a month.
60s.
Yeah, I thought it'd be well. Like I said, I thought it'd be more in the thousands per month. Um, so five some that doesn't. I mean, that's 5 hours of work a month to get that. So it's
No, 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 no,
no.
no, 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 no. Well, yeah, if you're talking about the billing at $100 an
Yeah.
hour, in theory, it's not really that because in theory, you're still held accountable for paying taxes. You just pay less taxes. Uh,
Yeah.
um, Not only do you pay less taxes, but I mean, you still pay other fees that for self-employment. There you go, Lord. Like I said, um, it's, first world. It's like they didn't want to take my $135 an hour quote, which is what is that? Probably like 280,000 a year or something. They only offered me $100 an hour. Yo, that's like disrespectful, right? Meanwhile, that type of money can do for someone in Zimbabwe or even East Cleveland. You know,
Yeah. Springfield.
it's just even at my current job, man, I'm required to know so much. Like I have a lot of respect for lawyers and surgeons, but when you graduate to like cloud architecture or cloud solutions, like the business expects you to know a lot of trivia. And that's the
Yeah.
part where it's like, it's not just me working like 8 or 9 hours a day. It's the fact that it's expected that that I have to do research early in the morning outside of that 9 to 5, or in the evening or on the weekends to try to figure out how to resolve something or how to do something. That's either DevOps related, security related, um, some conspicuous. I like trying to use words I don't understand. Azure bug that I never dealt with before. Like all this stuff is like, it's more than 40 hours a week, man. When you're actually trying to ship a feature and you have all these nuanced like issues that you've never ran into before, and you have to research the hell out of it just to like satisfy your deadline. That's the stuff where it's like, no, F that. I'm Scott Nimrod, man. I need 135 an hour. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm done with my
I suppose.
dissertation.
I suppose the alternative though is you keep doing soap through.
I
through the
fucking hate. Oh,
API.
it just made me curse. I hate it so much. The combination of soap and Azure API management together makes my hairline recedes like a 16th of an inch every week because of that. I hate it, man. I hate it with a passion.
Oh man, I hope I never have to deal with soap again. I'm sure I will one day, but
I think I've asked you this. Have you ever worked with Azure API management or any type of API gateway?
no, no.
The stuff is infinitely configurable, man. Like in XML. And so I'm cool with XML when it comes to like XAML, hence your WPF, your Xamarin Forms, which is now Maui. Like, oh, I like that stuff. But like configuring all these different types of policies for all these different inputs or outputs, or backend policies, or on air, or you want to implement some type of diagnostics and you want to turn things on and off so that you can view it in the logger, and like that stuff is, that's why I think we're required to know just as much volume as a surgeon or a lawyer.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's probably true. Um, yeah, because you just need to be a catalog of certain things. I feel like I dealt with a gateway at one time, but I can't remember for the life of me what the hell it was called. Now, starting to like forget what I did at certain jobs. I can see the image of the like logo or the whole thing, but God, oh my God, I cannot remember what it was.
Gamlore, how did you how did you find me? I think I asked him this question before. Did you find me on like a podcast? Like, how did you discover our Masterminds session? You know, Gambler is like my one and only viewer for the past, like, we've been doing this
Years, yeah.
4 years. I had another one, but I think I said something to piss him off. I do not remember by now. Sean, have you done anything extracurricular in regards to like software learning?
Um, no, not really. Uh, Trying to think of the last thing that I sat down and tried to learn, but yeah, I don't know. It's really difficult to.
How's your conference preparation going? Your conference talk?
Oh, I never submitted for it. I
Slacker.
Yeah, I thought about it. I'm like, do I really want to go through all the? If I were to get accepted, go through all the struggle of putting this together for what?
In this economy, if things continue to deteriorate, I would say it's worth it.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I don't know. I don't know what
It would
the.
just have to be something I'm actually like interested in.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I've said this before, and I've talked to talked to my wife about it, but I haven't got any idea yet. Is like I don't know that I'm gonna do this for the next 25 years. Like,
I said we could be bounty hunters.
yeah, will the jobs be there? One, two, will as I age, will I be able to get
No,
them
no, we're gonna be
anymore?
aged out.
Yeah, because I'm like, you don't understand, Carrie. Like my
It's
wife.
only a matter of time in this woke
Yeah,
like society that they're going to regress. I keep trying to use fancy words to like third world countries when it comes to employers. They're gonna because it's so woke. They're gonna be like we want a transgender under the age of 30 that specializes in Azure. Have you ever looked at job descriptions for like other countries or that are in other countries? They're
yeah,
specific
mostly
about
Europe though.
gender and age. It
Really?
has nothing to do with like being a face of a business. I'm talking about like engineering roles. Like they'll say, I've seen it one time in the states where like males tend to perform better in this role under the age of 30. C sharp, blah blah, JavaScript. I'm like, I've seen that only one time, and I pray that they got in trouble for that. I pray they went out of
Yeah,
business for that.
I don't think you could. I don't think you can legally do that.
Well,
We'll say that.
I'll just be fairly blunt. It's highly likely Indian recruiting firms or maybe some like Hispanic. I don't know. I don't think I've ever been called by a Hispanic recruiting firm. I don't even think there are Hispanic recruiting firms. It must be an Indian recruiting firm. But I don't understand why it would matter. Like we interviewed at my job, we interviewed this guy. He looks like he's in his 60s. But I mean, he was a smart dude. He seemed like he was really, really laid back. I mean, he didn't seem like a go getter killer, And I mean, I vetted him. I spent like 45 minutes having him write code, and like I was like, okay, yeah, he's approved by Scott Nimrod. And of course, like I mean, he's still smart. He's just very, very laid back, and things aren't a priority to him like it is to like everybody else at the organization.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's his wisdom and our ignorance.
yeah. I used to be a lot more. I don't know, involved in trying to mold the code base or put out opinions or bring in new ideas, but it just gets tiring. Like one of the things I hate about like I like front end development somewhat, but as soon as we reach a certain point, like there's just so many new frameworks and like
Hmm.
and it's just continual. It's like the tooling is always updating and it's always like there's always some like little thing that just doesn't work right or
And the
we're
competition is
changing our
fierce.
patterns. Like there's no clear patterns for things or there are, but they're constantly changing and it's just like
And you have way more global competition, I think, for front end web development.
there's a lot of but there's also a lot of supply of jobs or whatever need for that. So I'm full stack, baby.
You ready to change topic?
Sure. I'm still sitting here churning on what the hell that like router gateway thing that we used was. Anyways, go ahead.
I publicly I'm neutral, but dude, what they did was something out of a Hollywood movie. That has to be that will go down in history books. What they did,
The page is blowing up.
yes.
Yeah, there'll be a movie about it one day.
What they did was genius, flawless execution. I didn't know anything about it. I was watching I was watching a Pentagon briefing, and towards the end of the QA section of the Pentagon press conference, a reporter had asked the spokesman at the platform or podium, should I say, are there any departments within the Pentagon that's still relying on pagers? And I was like, why would she ask that question? Like, how's that relevant to anything? And that's before I heard anything about Israel, right? And he's like, no, I don't think anybody is using pagers anymore. And that was it. And I was like, why? What journalist decides to like raise their hand and ask a question about because I'm over analytical, I'm like, I don't understand why she did. That was just weird. Right. So anyway, I went on about my day, and then I think it was the next afternoon on YouTube, I started seeing thumbnails about pager explosions, and I still didn't put two and two together. And I clicked on it, and then that's how I found out.
Hmm.
And then I think the next day they exploded walkie talkies or something, and I'm like, those Israelis, man, yeah, there's a reason why like they live on the border of sketchy areas in Cleveland, and no one messes with them. They don't mess with them at all.
Yeah, yeah, that's some pretty crazy spy stuff. I mean, I could just imagine like in my head this like scene where they've got like 3 hours or something like that in a holdover for shipment in, I don't know, somewhere's like India or something. And they all come in and they pull it into a warehouse and they like, all right, we have to unpack, implant these bombs in every single one of these pagers, and then put them back and shrink wrap them like they're new or whatever, and put them all back the way they were in 3 hours or something like that, so that there's no confusion over the timing, or there's no.
But that's not going to happen. You know how much manpower that would require?
I know, I'm just like, this is what I'm imagining just in my head,
Because
like
they said
this
over
played
like
out.
3,500 pagers
Yeah,
exploded, or is it 3,500 pagers or 3,500 victims?
yeah.
Um,
So they got to implant these little nodes with this, chip and this explosive inside these tiny little pagers, and they all got to do it like just in some constrained time frame or something like that, and they just start busting them out, and they just have people just sitting there soldering and throwing shit together, and then they somehow magically do this all within 3 hours and ship it back to the holdover facility or something.
so all I can think of now is China is probably going to make it a standard to have some type of um, switch to maybe not necessarily do something destructive, but to have it serve as an interface electronically to activate something that's non-business or consumer required.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be part of a common interface, or that's going to be a standard now for hardware to have a a bomb switch that's
Hmm.
maybe not necessarily applicable to explosives, but it's not going to have anything to do with benefiting the consumer. It has everything to do with political like opportunity.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean that was a well played chess move. I know Iran was like, Freaking Israel, man.
What the hell? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I wonder if the same authors of Stuxnet did the pager uh, design
I don't who
or
knows.
plan. You know, it's
Yeah.
almost Stuxnet with the Iran nuclear program.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some pretty ingenious people out there. But yeah, I don't know. It's I said I it'll probably get turned into a movie one day. Some dramatic
I'll write it.
after all this is done, and then the
It's gonna be a Tom Clancy. He's
yeah,
dead
it'll be
now,
that
right?
kind of thing. It'll be like a Zero Dark 30 type thing. How they blew up all these pagers. And you'll get like the dramatic scene where the guy makes the call or something like that.
Well,
It's just calling out to all of the pagers.
there's two plans that were pretty done that were done very well. People don't want to acknowledge it. China succeeded at diluting testosterone levels in men so that the United States military has a hard time recruiting now. So that when your country does go to war, it's not going to be as difficult in regards to hand to hand combat or just trying to get people to be motivated. But we're in trouble, man. And
Yeah.
I honestly think it's going to come to U.S. shores, and that's the part that people
I mean, I can see.
people don't realize that, man. Obviously, it's not going to be feet on the ground during the first phase. It's just going to be hypersonic missiles hitting like high rise condos in major cities, and then it's just going to start, man.
Nah, I don't think so. I think that the U.S. plays too much of a role in global politics for any global player to, or not politics, but just in the like supply chain and infrastructure and all that for for any country to
For chips,
like China doesn't want to blow up the U.S. That would take out half their,
I'm
you
talking about
know.
Russia.
Yeah, I don't think Russia even wants to attack the rest of the world because they don't.
No, no, it's not the rest of the world. It's when you back Russia into a corner. Do you know the concepts I'm speaking of now? Is the long range missiles
Yeah,
that they're signing off on now? When Russia gets back into a corner, w- what are any other options but to finally enforce your red line so that it could be a deterrent moving forward? If they don't enforce a red line, what other option do they have? If anything, they just continue to be weaker and weaker and weaker. So do you continue being weaker, weaker, and weaker and slowly lose everything? Or do you finally enforce the red line, retaliate, and hope that that retaliation finally becomes a deterrent and it doesn't happen again?
no, I don't think. The thing is, they know if they strike us, they're completely overwhelmed with military. Like they have cybersonic missiles and stuff. They'd have to basically somehow, you know, circumvent all of our ability to know that the attack is coming and hit us all at once in every asset. It's
We're
it
not talking about nukes. We're talking about conventional weapons on
Yeah.
hypersonic missiles.
Do you think that any like if they hit the U.S. that that's not going to be game over for them?
My argument is with long range missiles, do you think that Russia is willing to accept losing the war after losing probably 500,000 men already?
N- Yeah, I mean
These countries are run by elderly white men. Do you
they've
really
done it
think that
with.
they care about future generations? Do you really think they care about our children? Do you really think
Well,
that they care about the next 20 years when they only have 10, 15 years left of life left?
I
That's my
mean
argument.
this was it Russia, the Soviet Union. They I think it was well, I don't know who it was at the time, but I mean they did the same thing with Afghanistan. They went in and spent a lot of time and treasure there and never defeated it. U.S. to Vietnam, I mean, we spent a lot of lives there, and we accepted defeat on it. Um, it's countries
The
will do it.
I don't. So I don't think Russia lost 500,000 men or even 250,000 men in Afghanistan. They didn't. The stakes are higher now. When you're running out of manpower, and now countries are maybe not the East, but definitely the West. They are opening the floodgates for immigrants, right? To fulfill, one is to prop up the Ponzi scheme that they call social welfare or social security, and two is to be able to have adequate manpower in case they get into military conflict. So I'm just
Yeah, they
saying,
lost about 15,000 troops. It looks like.
for Afghan
The Russians lost 15,000. The
for
Afghan,
Afghanistan, yeah,
yeah, Afghans lost 500,000 people. So, um, it was a pretty big thing. But the thing is I think the most likely outcome for this is that Russia eventually and Ukraine eventually sign a peace agreement, and the Donbass region or whatever that they took and Crimea remain in Russian control, and that's it. And then eventually this gets played out again in
Gambler
another
says, well,
decade.
Russia isn't in a corner. Who put Russia in a corner?
Yeah, it's not.
Gamblers taking sides. I was under the impression that NATO put Russia in the corner by, well, United States initially promising that they weren't going to further contain Russia by either adding Russia's border countries to NATO or setting up installations like missiles that are within close proximity to Russia. And my understanding is they reneged on that policy or that treaty, and that was something that Russia had to enforce. So
It,
I don't think it was Russia saying, "Oh, I just want to take over Ukraine just because it's always belonged to Ukraine, and I'm going to sacrifice 500,000 soldiers to do it." No, it's look. I try to listen to both sides and try to figure out what the truth is versus just being a puppet to YouTube or to any other Western propaganda machine.
it'd be kind of like I think it'd be kind of like if South America combined together and they said we're now the South American Union, and we have most of our members, blah blah blah, and we're very pro-Russian, and in fact, we're gonna have Russian bases all over, or Chinese bases, right? Pick any global player,
Well, Mexico would
and
be
then,
better, but yeah.
well, yeah, you start there, but then it's like, okay, and then they're like, well, that's okay, you can do that, but you do not move into Mexico. And then Mexico decides, or they start being like, no, what? We're going to start putting our bases in Mexico. And Mexico agrees to let them because they're friendlier with you know, their installed government or whatever is friendlier with South America than it is with the US. And so then they start going into bases there, and we're like, not where we are. It's the
Yeah,
same as
and
when
then
Russia put stuff in Cuba.
and you probably have a quarter of the nation's GDP probably in those two states
Yeah,
alone.
we've got like our sphere of influence, and Russia has their sphere of influence, and China has theirs. And the entire thing is we all want those people to
It was the
keep
same
out of
thing with
ours.
Cuba, right? The
Yeah,
Cuban Missile Crisis, and that was
yeah,
the red line.
yeah. So they want, we all want, and Europe to a certain extent has its sphere of influence, right? Broad Europe, but the EU. But that's why we always play in like these third world countries, like or like the Middle East where there is no dominant player, or Africa where there's no dominant player, um, because we don't actually want to fight in our sphere of influence. We want people to stay out of it. And so I think that's the nature of it. And if we had just not, if we just were content with Poland and just stayed where we were, that was the last leg of what we were doing, I think everything would be fine. Russia would be like, all right, whatever. I don't know that the U.S. and Russia have to be enemies. I don't know why there's any sort of animosity there, or like geopolitical angst. It's
Because the
you know,
United States wants to contain any developed countries' threat to them.
Yeah, but why do
Regards-
we
In
want to
regards
do
to
that? It's
in
pretty
regards
stupid.
to financial interests, in regards to resources, in regards to military influence, they want to contain every single major country that can inflict influence, which is your Iran, your China, your Russia.
Now, a lot of it's about energy. It's not really even about that, but
It's
it's
financial interest.
yeah. But I don't know why we do this though. Honestly, it's just it's stupid. But it's not just us. It's every country. Like there's just a bunch of kids playing war games at the top of each of the pyramids. It's not saying the U.S. is unique in that way, but we're all playing games against each other when we don't need to be. Like there's no people don't want to generally do war. It's stupid. So
I predict that there's going to be a coincidence of another strain of
COVID.
COVID once war breaks out.
Yeah, maybe that's what I have because I'm freaking after my run on Saturday, I did it. And I'd felt terrible afterwards, but man, I've felt like shit ever since, and it just keeps getting worse.
Really?
So yeah, I don't know if I'm sick or what, but it
You think your kids got you sick, or you think it was just running out there?
could be running. So when you run, you put yourself under a lot of stress, and your cortisol level goes up, and then your immunity goes down. So and then you're surrounded by a bunch of people. So who knows? I might have caught a bug out at the event itself, and now I'm just living with it for a week.
You might have an STD.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, syphilis is a game changer.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe COVID's like a two-part system. Like, all right, let's release the first half, and then the other half comes in, then combines with the other one.
The China disease.
Let me ask you. So, if you whenever you hear, so somebody ended up dying on this run that I did this last weekend.
Really?
They were doing the rollerblading, but um, I guess they struggled the last little bit and then had cardiac arrest or whatever and died.
Mm.
Do you, when you hear something like that now, I automatically think, oh, they were vaxxed probably. And that's immediately what I think, and I go, that's what happened.
No,
Their heart gave out.
because people have been dying at marathons and triathlons before COVID.
Yeah, yeah, but I feel like it was fairly rare, but maybe I wasn't.
No, no. Um,
Or if
even
somebody's
like
collated.
ultra marathons, people die.
Well, ultras I can understand.
But people have been dying in marathons too. Like
List of marathon fatalities. Yeah, I mean it's been for forever, but
I mean, I still think I didn't have a choice to get about getting that COVID shot. I mean, people told me like after the fact that I could have got a counterfeit COVID card, but yeah, I'm not in the black market. I don't know about that stuff.
huh, that's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I just I I didn't have a mandate. I think that the business I was working for because they were in New York or something. They might have had the mandate, but it was still like it got tied up in the courts, and then the courts shot it down. So I didn't have to do it, but I wouldn't have done it. I would have quit. I don't know.
You say that.
I say
Hear,
that, and I would do that.
hear me out. Hear me out. You say that, but also take into consideration that there was a lot of people out of work during that time.
Dude,
Um,
this was peak
well, for tech, yeah,
for tech. It was peak.
yeah.
we were in good shape to do whatever the hell we wanted to do during the pandemic because everyone was hiring up
Yeah, you're right.
developers.
You're right.
But I would have definitely quit. I didn't want to at the time, but I definitely would have. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or-
It was a personal decision. We're like, okay, my wife's gonna get the shot. I'm not, and then we'll be, covered one way or the other. But I mean, all it ends. It's like I haven't gotten. I've never been vaccinated against it. I haven't got boosters. I don't get flu shots either. Although maybe one day I'll regret that. But I don't know. I'll just let the bugs take me whenever they decide to. I'm okay with that. I'm content with it.
Well, that's the scariest thing is the process of dying is what I'm terrified of. The suffering.
Yeah. Or you just go to the doctor and they put you on fentanyl and you don't even know what's happening.
Well, you don't think there's any suffering for even like think about lethal injection. Don't they like struggle for air for maybe 5 seconds and then they finally pass?
I don't know. I've never actually
I
watched one
think
or
so.
looked into it.
But I'm not sure if there's any absolutely painless cocktail that you could take and just finally pass. Else, I think there would be a lot of people lined up to take that. I really do.
Yeah. Well, what about like carbon monoxide poisoning? You fill it with carbon monoxide, you fall asleep, and then you go.
You, yeah, but this is a sincere question. You're right. Is that 100% success rate? Like
It is if you
my
want it to be.
my biggest fear is um it when you do attempt it and then it doesn't work and then you're really screwed and then you have to live with it until you finally do pass. Like if things were painless, I think there would be a huge line of
No,
people.
I think carbon monoxide stuff is that's pretty generally pretty painless, and it
So you think
happens
it's a
when
100% success rate?
if you
'Cause
want it to be.
organs fail. Like
Yeah,
that's
but
the
you're asleep when
process
it
of.
happens. Yeah, your mind goes damp first. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Like a shot, you could like I've had so my brother-in-law did committed suicide that way. He put himself in a shipping container and he turned on a weed or a tiller, and that's how he went.
Mm,
Um, and that was a success. Well, I mean, it's in terms of execution of it. It's not. I don't want to frame it that way, but it was what it was. My father-in-law tried to shoot himself. He effed that up, and so he was in the doctor, and he's still alive, but it's just like
just massively disfigured.
no, they reconstructed him. I don't know how they did it, but I don't know. But I think that the deal there is that I think that guy knows guns and using a 22. I don't think he was fully committed to the idea. Um, so I don't know. It's pretty morbid talk, but
Yeah, I know. This video will get flagged.
yeah, yeah. I mean, trigger warning for sure. But I don't know. I've had bad days though, where that's literally all I can think about is like, how would I do that?
I'm surprised you admitted it.
Oh yeah, I mean, we could go deep. It's like I look at, like I said, I look at 25 more years of doing what I'm doing in stuck in a basement by myself, and I go, this
Like
is
25 years of C sharp. Man, let me go do some research.
well, C sharp I can somewhat live with. The freaking front end code changing and just trying to keep up with the Joneses and solving the same problems over and again, and it's like, but I just don't know. Um, but I don't know. I've danced with that kind of stuff for years, and It hasn't taken me yet, but I don't know. There's certainly
Would it be fair to say because you try to immediately shift your thoughts? I mean, I think the more you dwell on it, the more it marinates and becomes it goes from a thought to a temperament to or a thought to a mood to a temperament to a personality to the end. No.
I don't know. I think usually it just kind of comes in waves and then it
Uh,
passes. But there was one time a few years ago where I was like thinking about it every day, and it was like I went to the doctor and got on meds for it because I was just like I don't want to deal with this anymore.
I mean, I mean, were you going through something in
No,
life? So you
no,
think it was just your brain chemistry?
yeah, yeah, probably. Um, I've, I think that perhaps that I've had too easy of a life, and that's why everything is difficult.
First world
It
problems.
sounds yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, but I think that when you're hit with some sort of challenges or adversity, like you have something to fight against or something meaning or some sort of like you can derive purpose from fighting the challenge. But when life's so easy, you realize there's no like you're not really chasing hedonic pleasure or anything like that. It's like that it gets to the really uncomfortable place of whatever. So
Uh, um, I'm surprised that when men don't have access to their children, that there's not a higher rate, or maybe there is. Because I mean, I think a lot of us, if not all of us, are hardwired to really want to live and leave back a legacy, um, have children, and condition them to be better than us. And when the courts or when Western society influences a fragmentation in the household, I'm just surprised that uh, a lot of men just don't exit.
yeah, but I think then I mean, and I think there's always that question. So it's like a balance. Like if you start feeling like whenever I start feeling that way, it's always like I can't do that to my kids. that's the like that's the thing that keeps that prevents it. So it's not the challenge with the courts and all that. It's
Well,
like
you say
the
you
other
can't do
things.
that to your kids, but if you don't have access to your kids in the first place,
But they still, I mean, yeah, I guess
the
so.
my argument is I don't I don't want the stigma, even though I'm dead. It's not like I will feel the stigma because
Yeah,
I'm no longer here. But I don't want, I would think that I wouldn't want the stigma of leaving my kid a bastard,
yeah,
and
and
that
you've
his father took the coward's way out.
and
But there's,
it's not like your kid's a completely foreign to you. You've built somewhat of a relationship with them, right?
uh,
So enough where he'll
I,
know who you
I
are.
I was speaking in general terms,
Yeah,
but like children become adolescents, adolescents become teenagers, teenagers become adults, and over time, people are less dependent. Children are less dependent on you over time. So, like, I mean,
yeah,
I'll be brutally honest. Like, my kid, he thinks it's okay to ignore me when I ask him questions now, over video chat, and it's happened enough that it's a pattern, and that's very disappointing. And I don't know, it messes with me, right?
yeah,
Because I'm not there in the physical to instill structure, discipline, and help them understand policy. Um, and I just
yeah,
I already see the consequences of what single parent moms results in regards to boys and their development.
yeah. And who
Mhm.
knows? I mean, the thing is that right now that's the way it is in the courts or whatever your situation is. There's this rift, but there might be a time in the in that kid's life in their teens or their 20s or whatever, where there's a reconnection, and you know it's a different time, but it's might be
what?
very important.
I mean, you say that, but not everybody's going to be here in 20 years. Not everybody's going to be here in 10 years. And
Yeah,
that's the
that's true.
thing that is kind of difficult to manage. So,
Yeah, if you've got that you've got family history of early retirement, let's
uh,
call it that. So I suppose if you're looking out and you're going that this time frame isn't going to happen, yeah, it'd be tough. But you don't know it's not going to, I suppose.
I'm a logical person. I think I have a better understanding of statistical probability.
Hmm.
Insurance companies and casinos, they survive because of that. They make money. So how can I ignore that?
Maybe you should become an actuary.
I'm not smart enough. I
I
wonder how
wonder if
many.
that. Oh, good.
No, I was just gonna say. I wonder how many formulas are just core in order to just get by being an actuary. Like for example, in programming, map, filter, reduce. As long as you can grok those three core patterns for programming, you're pretty good, right? I wonder for like actuaries, like what are the 3 to 5 formulas that you just have to know in regards to fundamentals that you could pretty much perform any calculation in regards to people's life expectancy, or if we're talking about car insurance, any of that stuff, the probability of a catastrophic event occurring.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wonder at what point do actuaries just cease to exist because the code just has all the knowledge built into it to do all of it. I mean, I would have to assume that they're based on algorithms already. So what do actuaries actually do other than just click the button and then go, here's the probability?
I'm almost positive prior to 2008, actuaries didn't include social media into their spreadsheets for factors for depression.
Yeah. They start to bring in other stuff, but
Like we consistently get a trickle, if not a flow, of new challenges that we have to deal with, especially when there's disruptors in humanity due to technology or conflict.
yeah, so you
And
need
so,
one guy to decide that social media use
I
is a
mean,
variable, and then
it's
they
it
add it to the system, and now the models all update.
yeah, it's still a variable, right?
Yeah.
So I still think the math is still the same. It's just another variable that you plug in. Maybe not. I'm not an actuary.
Yeah. I think being a burger flipper is a pretty safe job.
I'm gonna be a Walmart greeter, and I'll just take off on Black Friday.
Claim it's a black holiday and you need it off. I worked at Walmart during Black Friday before. Was kind of wild back in the day. I think a lot of that's gone now, but I don't know.
I'm not
It'll
going
get
to your
a little
personal business. How long did you date your wife for?
before we were hitched, or
Yeah,
before we got engaged, or what?
before you got married.
Married 2 years. We were engaged after like 6 months, though.
Good job.
Not even 6. Well, so it was
You got a
January,
hold up. You
June.
no,
Yeah.
you don't have any adults, so that means you weren't pressured. You didn't knock her up and then get married.
Nope.
No,
We met in my senior year of high school, um, and then it was January, I think. January, and then we were engaged in June because I was leaving And then we got married in 2005, so next year is our 20th. And then we went to college and got jobs after that and had kids and followed the script, man.
I
So
might I might submit a conference talk on what's the word I'm looking for? I will consider submitting a conference talk on loneliness and being a professional programmer, and I will reference this masterminds that we've been doing for 4 to 5 years.
yeah.
No, 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 there's a high probability they'd be like, no, this isn't cloud computing or AI, so there's not a market for it.
Yeah, I suppose if you had like mechanisms, if it was like mechanisms for, I could see going to a talk that's called something like mechanisms for dealing with loneliness, you know, being a remote developer or something like that. But I don't know. I don't know if that's
It doesn't
as
sell.
broad of a problem or not. I know it's a problem.
It's a
Like
problem. It's just we're men and we're supposed to just suck it up.
when I was in the like office, like you go in and you'd sit with people at lunch or sit with people at breaks, and you'd go on walks with people. You'd have side conversation, water cooler conversations.
Yeah.
Like you were the thing that I lament like the most is you build all these friends at every place you go, and then as soon as you leave, you literally never talk to each other ever again, like almost never. And it's like
Uh,
you for a couple of years, you're like talking to these people every day, you're doing stuff, and then suddenly it's all gone. It's like,
I did not see Gamler's comment. I'm sorry, Gamler. He said, "Well, my grandmother kind of deliberately decided to go. She basically switched from keeping alive drugs to opioid through the roof medication when her heart was start to keep failing."
yeah,
No,
sorry to hear that.
did she go peacefully? I don't want that to be an ignorant question. No, it's a sincere question.
I'd have to assume that overdosing isn't as a violent or painful thing because you're drugged up too. Depending on what kind of thing you're overdosing on. Like swallowing a bottle of Tylenol is probably not a good way to go, but if you had this much fentanyl, I'd assume that it would be a pretty painless way to go. Maybe.
I don't know.
Let's talk about something uplifting for the next 5 minutes. How about them dogs and cats in Springfield?
Would you ever consider adoption?
Would I ever consider adoption
Hmm.
of of a kid?
Of a human being? Yes.
I don't know. Maybe if I had not been able to produce my own.
What about adopting a teenager?
I mean, I could foster one. I don't know that I would adopt one.
Mm,
Like, if like let's say my sister passed away or something. I mean, I'd take her kids in,
yeah.
or they can come over and they can hang
Nah.
out whenever they
No.
want.
What about a Mexican or African? What about that?
A Mexican or an African. I don't
Yeah.
I
16
don't
year
know
old.
what would put me in that situation, but probably not. I mean, I wouldn't want someone from Europe either. I don't just wouldn't want a random stranger that I would adopt.
I I would adopt a white child. That wouldn't be my first pick. My first pick would be Asian, preferably Japanese or South Korean. But I'll
You're
take
gonna
I'll take
go out on
leftover
the
like
market.
Filipino or Thai. That would
Yeah,
be the last pick with an Asian. But I would totally adopt uh, an Asian kid. I would even consider Asian like adolescent. Second round pick would be for the second round pick. Scott Nimrod selects.
Eastern Europeans. Israeli.
No, I would take a Russian. The second round pick, Scott Nimrod selects a Russian. A third round pick. So first round pick is the
This is like
Asian.
drafting
Yeah.
kids that you would
First round pick is the
adopt.
Asian. Second round pick is Russian. I'm kind of turned off to South and Latin America. Like, no, thank you. Um,
Hmm, what about a big Pacific Islander like The Rock?
no, I don't think so.
No.
I don't. I haven't really came in contact with any Native Americans. Well, I'll tell you something offline. Uh, as of recent. Uh, I'm just a huge fan of Asian culture. I am. What about the Africans, Scott? Uh,
A lot of smart African kids.
I would consider a Nigerian as a fourth round pick. Hold on, am I on third round or fourth round?
I think third round because you never committed to any. Yeah. Just,
For a third round pick, Scott Nimrod would adopt a Nigerian. Um, and these are all boys. I because I'm terrified of adopting a girl and being a single and not having like a wife, right? Because then it's like you're putting yourself. I don't even think adoption agencies would even allow that in the first place.
I don't think adoptions agencies would allow a single black male to or a single white male even to adopt a kid. Like it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, you might be right.
I wonder if like you literally couldn't if you tried. Like I don't know that a lot of people are trying to do that, but they would just people would look at you skeptically like, why do you want a kid? What's your deal? What are you doing? Why?
You're
And then it'd
right.
be like, well, you're not a atomic family, so it's really hard. It's surprising. Like there's a lot of kids that could probably do well to be adopted, but the actual capability to adopt a kid is extremely difficult. I think Russia doesn't
It's only
allow.
gonna get worse.
I don't think Russia actually allows adoptions to the U.S. anymore. They used to, but I don't think they do anymore. So it's like there's political games too with it, like that. It's never really just about the kids, but there's actually a lot of kids in the U.S. that can be adopted though, because you can get into foster parenting. I had a guy that I worked with, and he fostered some kids, and one of them he kept fostering or whatever, and they ended up adopting them. So he was a cool cat.
What would be your first round pick?
For for adopting, based on
Yeah.
what country or
Ethnicity.
race or
Yeah.
ethnicity? Um,
Or country.
I don't know. Like, what does it even say about me if I pick? I don't know. Or,
Preference.
I mean, is it just like I, I don't know that I would
For
pick.
example, you could say my first round pick definitely wouldn't be a black boy because I mean they just have problems out just off the starting line. So no, I wouldn't do that. I would go with a safer bet, like probably a white baby.
So I need to be the overtly racist type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time you said KFC was soul food.
Yeah, well, that was just a mischaracterization of comfort food. Um,
First round pick,
First round
Jap-
pick.
Japanese, Cambodian, Pacific Islander, Icelandic, if that's even ethnicity,
I would probably say
Middle Eastern.
I'd go with an Israeli.
I think I would consider adopting Middle Eastern, specifically like Gaza and Lebanese, not Israeli. No, But
I would want my kid to grow up and know how to install bombs into pagers.
yeah, so this video is definitely getting flagged for the whopping one viewer that I have.
Yeah.
Uh,
Beyond that, dude, I don't have any particular. I mean, I obviously because I'm white, I have an affinity for white people, but
you want to be like Jolie and like parade your black kid all over
I wonder who
television.
yeah, I'm just wondering like now who because maybe I can talk within the white frame, like who are the dumbest white people? Like,
Dumbest
like who are like, do we have an ethnicity that's considered
trailer
to be
park.
like but do we have like a particular country or ethnic group, subgroup of white that's considered to be these people aren't really that smart?
Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, most of the
Like
southern states.
like you're talking about like Africans, right? And you would think you would probably frame Nigerians as some of the smartest, I would assume.
They're the ones that make it over here to the universities in the states, and they focus on highly challenging fields. Like in this
Yeah.
case, they were coming to Cleveland State University, and they focus on power systems.
Yeah, and I think of Nigerians as being extremely smart. I don't think that same way about Somalis, you know.
They're pirates. Um,
But that
so
may just be because of the way that the country like it keeps them down. But I
so
wonder like with white people because I can
so
actually talk about white
so
people.
the really smart white people, I think people would say Dutch, German would be the the top tier, and then the bottom of the barrel for whites.
Irish maybe.
I don't know, man.
Spot
You guys are so superior. It's hard. Like what what failed white race or white
Irish probably.
ethnicity would
I'm Irish, so I think the
it would be
Irish
a tie between Irish and Italian.
the Irish have been like put down a lot of their history in terms
Yeah,
of
but Italians
by
are
the
called like the white Africans, right? Um,
yeah, I'd say that Italians and if you look at like in the United States anyways when people came over here, the Italians and the Irish were built a lot of some of the major cities and stuff like that, but they
only
were
thing is Italians are
at the
admired,
bottom.
even if it's only a whopping 0.0000001%. They're admired for their engineering and design. Irish, they're just known for police stations.
Potatoes
And beer,
and not beer.
or not even it's consuming beer. Well,
Let's
fighting.
it's more whiskey and stuff like that, I think.
Uh,
Yeah, and fighting.
yeah, the Irish they've contributed the least to humanity.
Yeah,
Italians they
although
gave us Ferraris.
so the Polish have been put down a lot too historically. Polacks, there's a lot of Polak jokes if you look them up. I'm part Polish too, so I can speak to how stupid I am.
Yeah, so it's a tie
No, I
between
love Poland
Irish.
though. I'd love to go to Poland. I think
The less
Poland would be.
desirables within the white race is Polish and Irish. What's what about Scottish?
I think that they're
They're kind of
they're
neutral, right?
kind of neutral. I don't know. I don't really. I think that I don't know that they've gotten the same rap as the Irish have. And
They're
maybe
not
it's because
known
they've
for
never migrated.
they're not known for fighters or violence or cage matches.
They're known for William Wallace and Braveheart, and the fictional betrayal in Braveheart.
Okay, yeah.
No, music for sure, and great accents. I don't know. So you got. I would put the Swiss at the top of the tier right there, Gamor. So they're the smartest. They stay out of everything,
They make watches.
and they own
But
like,
so does German.
and they hold all the money in the world probably. And yeah, I think a lot of Eastern European countries have a lot of smart people because they've been so beat up over the years. They've had to become kind they've had to put some ingenuity into what they've done.
Or do you think they're just more conservative and that's the benefit long term? Well, that's not true because I would imagine a lot of African countries are conservative and they don't really contribute a lot to engineering. Li-
Liechtenstein. Yeah,
What's Liechtenstein? That's not a country. What is that?
yeah, it is.
No, it's not. What is that?
It's a country.
It's not.
Pretty sure it is.
I'm pretty sure I'm well educated, and I've never heard of Liechtenstein. It sounds
It
like someone's
is.
last name.
Liechtenstein is a small country right next to Switzerland, I believe. It's a
Of how many
microstate,
of how many people? Like
it's a principality.
30,000?
Let me see. Their population is, where is the population statistics? Um, capital, largest official language, ethnic groups, religion. Oh, population. About 40,000 people. Yeah. I also really like those Vatican City people.
I
That's its
never
own
met it.
country too.
I think I met one person from Vatican City.
Like,
No, no, that's not true. She visited Vatican City.
well, it's Rome really, but they made their own state so that they're not like considered part of Italy to kind of maintain some. It's kind of like how Washington D.C. isn't a state. It's like its own little district or whatever, but it's not beholden to any state or state laws. It's the same thing as that.
Because it's supposed to be
It's
neutral, right? Like, what's the logic behind it?
Yeah, you don't want to give some preference to one particular state because the capital is located. Although you could say that there's probably some um, preference given, um, but that's the same thing like Vatican City. You don't want to say like, oh, the Pope lives in Italy and they're always Italian. No, he lives in Vatican City, and he's the Pope of the entire Catholic Church, not the Italian Catholic Church. So
Is it better to have the capital centralized from military, or to be more of a challenge to bomb? Or do you think for logistics reasons it's better to have it on the coast?
I say that again.
Washington, D.C. hugs the East Coast.
Sure.
My question is, do you think it's better to have it on the coast for logistical reasons, hence fly across the Atlantic, fly to the Caribbean, whatever, or in case of military conflict, put it in the center of the states, so that it's more challenging to bomb?
Well, because you can surround it with stuff. I mean, it'd probably
Well, it
be
takes more fuel and it takes more
Yeah,
effort.
it'd probably be more logistically better to put it in the middle, but
No, it's logistically better to put it on the coast so that there's less time flying out to meet with other leaders across the world, right?
well, maybe. I suppose
If
too, like you've got the entire Atlantic Ocean there to keep you from.
Yeah, but you have Great Britain, which is the United States, I would argue, biggest partner, and so that's a 10-hour flight. Um, you also have the Caribbean, you have South America, so all that stuff is like within 10 hours for most of the. Well, South America is not really important when it comes to leadership, political leadership, global leadership. Your Western European countries, it makes sense to have DC on the East Coast. We're not friend. Your country isn't friendly with communists, hence China. So the West Coast, well, I don't know.
Well, Japan's there too. Japan's one of our biggest allies, and South Korea. But you could also say that
Yeah, but that wouldn't be West Coast though. Would that not be?
logistically, is it
That
is
would
it
be Detroit, because you
is
would
it?
fly. I think it would be fast. Would it be? Wouldn't it be faster to fly from Detroit to? This is a question I don't know.
I
I would
think
thought it would be faster to fly from like Detroit over the polar caps to get to the Asian countries than from
you could say the same thing
California.
about Europe, though, right? It would probably be faster to fly to Europe from Maine than it would be from Maryland or whatever.
Gamma smart. We need his way in, and then I guess I'll let you go.
Right? Maybe you could here. Hold on. I wonder if Google Maps could tell you. Washington D.C. to
ChatGPT is going
what
to
are
tell you.
we? Where are we going?
It's ChatGPT. I'll look it up.
To London. Flight time. 7-hour flight from Washington D.C. to London. Let's go from Maine to London flight time.
Detroit to
What is
China
9-10 hours? But I mean,
or
it could just be that the
LA to China. China. The speed travel from Detroit to China versus LA to China typically depends on specific cities involved and the mode of transportation. Generally, flights from Los Angeles to China are usually faster because LA has more direct flights to major Chinese cities like Beijing and Shanghai. Detroit might require connecting flights, making the travel. Okay, I was wrong.
fastest way clearly is to dig a hole straight through the earth to China.
Technically, that's not faster because it probably takes forever to dig a hole.
If the planet was hollow and you were sitting in the middle of it, would you float?
You, you wouldn't exist.
If it was hollow and it wasn't full of like heat, and let's just assume
A
for a second.
planet, a planet can't be hollow because
I
the whole
know.
point of a planet is for material to gravitate and clump
Yes,
up so
yeah.
it becomes a sphere.
Oh, I know.
You're
I'm just
saying
saying.
if a planet was a gas giant or a gas planet,
Yeah, this is a hypothetical. No, this is just entirely a hypothetical. You would float in the middle of a sphere that has gravity pulling you in every direction,
your
right?
your your atoms that are your remains would, I would argue, be dispersed probably as a, yeah, it'll either be clumped. Yeah, it'll probably just, your atoms will probably just turn into a sphere and float in the middle.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think that's what I'm still trying to figure out what the name of that like proxy or whatever that we used was. Damn it! I feel like it had goes.
The question is, the the people that were in that that man-made sub, or not that commercial consumer sub, when they were at the bottom of the ocean, did they turn into a sphere or did they turn into like a pancake?
They didn't turn into a pancake. They broke apart. There's images now of the.
Yeah, I
I
saw
think
an image
last week
yesterday.
it just broke in half, and then it from there. I mean, the
No,
water filled the cavity.
the flesh.
Oh, the people.
Does it turn into a clump or does it turn into a pancake?
I would assume that you would be probably closer to a
I would
pan.
think a pancake because the water is pushing down, right? The
Down,
gravity is
yeah.
coming down. It's not coming. I would think.
Hmm. I think that's probably the
I
case.
gotta ask ChatGPT. At the bottom of the, this is what engineers talk about. At the bottom of the ocean, will a human body, uh, when oh, turn in crap? I wonder how good ChatGPT is when I say, will the human body turn into a pancake? Will a human body flatten or turn into a sphere when exposed? At the bottom of the ocean, if a human body were exposed to immense pressure without any protective gear, it would neither flatten nor turn into a perfect sphere. Here's what would happen. The deeper you go in the ocean, the more intense the pressure becomes. For every 10 meters, aka 33 feet, you descend, the pressure increases by about 1 atmosphere. At the ocean's deepest point, the Mariana Trench, the pressure can reach over 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. Immediate collapse. If a human body were suddenly exposed to the pressure without any protective equipment, the gases inside the body, such as those in the lungs, would be rapidly compressed and the body would likely collapse inward. Soft tissues would rupture as the pressure overwhelms them, leading to a quick and fatal collapse. Deformation. While the body wouldn't flatten or turn into a sphere, it would be compressed as the air filled spaces like the lungs are crushed. The pressure would cause blood vessels to burst, and eventually the body structure would deform, but bones and skin would resist some of the crushing force. Flattening is unlikely because the pressure is applied uniformly from all directions, not just from above or below. So while the body wouldn't flatten or form a sphere, it would be subjected to severe compression and trauma, resulting in catastrophic damage. All right, so I was wrong. And on that note, all right, it's been real. I guess I should log into work.
Yeah, I finally figured out what it was. It's not an API gate. It was a reverse proxy. It's called Trafic or Trafic. Traffic. It's a HTTP reverse proxy. That's the thing I've been trying to think of this whole time.
Isn't that what a
What it was
gateway
called.
is? A gateway is a proxy as well.
Yeah, I don't really know what the difference is. Maybe there's no, there might be no mutations of requests in the interim. It might just be a purely routing, and then continued updates. No, it's important
Yeah,
about it's
still the
load
features of a
balancing. It's circuit breakers,
rate limiting, probably caching.
metrics, access logs. Yeah.
All right, it's been real.
All right. Yep.
All right,
We'll talk to you
cool.
next week. Yep. Yeah, it should be good next week. All right.
All right, stay black.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.